white people's stories have been told, for so many years. So maybe now it's time to give spaces for other narratives, for people of color narrative, for indigenous people narratives. Maybe it's time for us to listen more. My name is Tatiana dos Santos. I'm from Brazil. I'm living in Ireland since 2016. I came as an English student, as many of us, and at first my plan was to start for 8 months, and here I am for nearly 6 years. I started to dance professionally, I must say, when I was 12 or 13. But dance has always been in my first memories, part of my first memories, very little listening to music. And when I was a kid, I was always dancing, I was always moving my body. I think it's a very powerful way to communicate, and that's actually a human need. All of us, we feel the urge of communicating things. So, because I am a very communicative person, I studied journalism in college. Back then, my mom, and I totally respect that, but she didn't support me as a dancer. She's a single mom and she raised me on her own. So she knew how challenging could be for one to be an artist, especially in Brazil. So when I saw myself between arts and journalism, I picked journalism because I consider it to be the safer journey. Turns out that it was not. I moved to Ireland, and the dance has always been with me. And in a moment of displacement, the thing that made me come back to myself was dance. To come back to my roots was dance. When I was feeling lonely here, when I was feeling that I didn't belong here, dance brought me back to myself. So I was invited for a dance teacher called Bami, and she lives now in the UK. Super powerful black woman. When she was moving to London, she wanted her legacy to stay here in Dublin because she was able to raise this vibrant community of women, and she invited me to take over her classes. So she taught me everything about the methodologies that she used to. She did a training here in Dublin, and I attended with other many women, and I started to teach dance here in Dublin. And I never stopped, so that was in 2018, so 4 years. After I started to do my dance classes here, I realized the power of dance as a tool to bring people together, to empower. So I've been working as a dance facilitator since then. I do some performances as well. And at the moment, the project that is in the core of my professional life as a dancer is with Tallaght Community Arts. So we work with the youth in Tallaght, with some historically marginalized groups. And as a dance facilitator, I think my role is to inspire those kids and to make them believe that art is for everyone, including for them. And it's very important that they can see themselves in those spaces. They can feel that they belong to those art spaces as well. Here in Ireland, I also did my master's in conflict resolution, and my focus was arts and education as a tool to decolonize ethnic conflicts in Ireland. I know that now we have been talking more about those things, but we were not talking about racism, about prejudice a few years ago. And I really believe that in order to fix things, we have to acknowledge them. Because I truly believe that art is a powerful tool to bring communities together. So my work now is I navigate between arts and conflict resolution. I also work with mother tongues. My role at the moment is to run a project called Intercultural Network of Artists, because we truly believe that in order to change things, we have to provide tools for people that not necessarily have the same access to the same tools that we had. And also, I am a facilitator for equity, diversity, and inclusion workshops, especially in the arts industry. Knowing a little bit of Irish history, I know that it's a new republic, and I take that in consideration every time that I'm doing some research or analyzing any kind of scenario. When you talk about arts, I think we are not there yet, especially because my feeling is that people are always looking for quick solutions. I see a lot of people thinking that to change things, we just invite a black artist, and bring the artist to your organization and then that's it. But we have to be willing to change the structures. If you look around in your organization, in your workspace, and you don't see people different from you, it means that you are not working towards diversity and equity. So there is a lot of work to be done. It has to come from the structure, and I always say that we have to be able to step back and allow people to have the protagonism as well, allow people to tell their own stories, even if that means that for now, my story won't be told, because white people's stories have been told, for so many years. So maybe now it's time to give spaces for other narratives, for people of color narrative, for indigenous people narratives. Maybe it's time for us to listen more. And of course that it takes time, but I truly believe that we are walking towards that thicker work, if I can put it like that. I think it's very clear when a person or an organization is being tokenistic. For us, from marginalized communities, we can see when we were receiving some invites because they need people to tick the boxes, Something I've been telling everyone every time I'm talking about social change and transformation in the world and equity, my words are always towards action. I think we are entering a stage now that we have been discussing. It is important to discuss, but also people from marginalized communities, those that are here in the pyramid, in a very low stage in the ladder, we want to see actions. And there is no better way to impact the communities and change yourself than doing the work, the actual work. And that doesn't mean that you have to go to a charity, 5 days a week. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about finding a connection between things that you like to do and say, how can I use my talents and give that back to any community? I think it's important to burst that bubble that we live in. We all live in small bubbles, and we don't make change if we are just here having conversations with our echo chambers, with people that think like us, and we are all agreeing to each other with a glass of wine. That I think that's not the point. We need to burst that bubbles because it's a mutual learning. And I must say that it's very rewarding